Hello everyone, welcome to this video where we're gonna discuss the topic of ethics, which is also covered under the domain security and risk management. To begin with, what is ethics? Ethics seeks to answer questions like what is good versus bad, how do you differentiate right from wrong, and what is a justice, well-being, and equality. As a discipline, ethics tends to demarcate and differentiate between the concepts of right, which is also called beneficence, and wrong, which is called as non-maleficence. Ideally, this is achieved by doing conceptual analysis, thought experiment, and argumentation. Ethics in general is divided into three fields, and they are meta-ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics. Now, as I said in the previous video, the nature of this certification is mile wide and inch deep. So as a topic, you do not have to do a very deep dive in the philosophies of ethics, but the basic understanding is must. However, in terms of obtaining a certification, holding on to that certification, it is must that the candidates understand the code of ethics as laid out by CISSP. These are must and non-negotiable. They are driven by Code of Ethics Preamble, which talks about the safety and the welfare of society, the common good and duty that we have towards our principal, stakeholders, customer that we serve in any organization or the job we are in. Therefore, the strict adherence to this code is the condition for the certification. Code of ethics have 4 canons, or the bullet points, so to say, and they are protect the society, act honorably and honestly, discharge your duty responsibly and legally, provide diligent and competitive service to your principal, like various stakeholders. So, advance and protect the profession you are in. So, for example, if you are an IT developer, do maintain the ethics of writing code which is not harmful to the society at large. In terms of the digital domain, Computer Ethics Institute also have their principle on ethics, which are drafted in 10 commandments of computer ethics, and they are of very similar nature as to what we have seen in the 4 canons of the Code of Ethics for CISSP, but only in the digital domain. They cover topics of to use computer not to harm anyone, not to interfere in people's work by using their computer, not to snoop around on computer files, not to steal, not to be a false witness by accessing a computer, not to copy or use proprietary software when you are not supposed to, do not use resources on others' computer without their authorization, be respectful to the intellectual property, use computer in a way which has a just consideration and respect for your fellow human beings. For example, not to propagate malware. Internet as common of goods and a widely used source of connecting this world, connecting people together, also have their ethical principle, which is defined by Internet Activities Board. They state that seeking to gain unauthorized access to the resources of Internet is unjust. disrupt the intended use of internet is unjust, wasteful resources through actions, for example, performing DDoS, consuming bandwidth, disrupting businesses, destroy the integrity of computer-based information, for example, performing a malware attack, and compromise the privacy of users, distributing credentials to people who are not supposed to have or hold those credentials. In terms of ethics, it is also important that you must be aware of the ethical framework within your organization. As I said, this certification is industry neutral, so they probably will not know what is your internal ethical framework used within your organization. So in terms of that, your ethical organization, your ethical framework in the organization is not testable, but rest everything else is, which is based on the common properties of ethics. In terms of ethical behavior or not, liability becomes a very important concept. It is always said, and probably you will hear this so many times, that ultimately the senior most management in an organization is liable. It is true to a certain extent, however, it doesn't take away from end user of the system or you being an employee of an organization that any conduct that is being performed or done contrary to the ethical principle results in you being also held liable for your action. So please do pay great consideration to these concepts. Ethics is a very important property and the chapter within this domain. And as this has been reiterated right through the certification domains, that the concept of ethics and applying ethics remains of paramount importance. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.